Hey guys, welcome to week 7. You may have noticed in the corner of the video right here is a Steve Cat. He's just sitting here chilling. He'll probably make his face known in the video by smacking the mic at some point, I would assume. This week's high score and biggest blowout, Drew's Run CMC knocks Pope 1.0's To Deuce or Not To Deuce out of first place. 144 to 81.6, a 63.3 point margin of victory. Christian Who Run CMC proves it's not all about the man whose name's on the building, getting a win and the top score while McCaffrey and the Panthers were on a bye this week. Of course, when Aaron Rodgers has one of those career games, it makes it a little easier. Rodgers exploded this week for 6 touchdowns and 46.7 points. Adding Dalvin Cook's 30.4 points gets him up to another 76 points. And if only those two guys had played, you'd have lost by 5. Fortunately, the 7 other players on your roster added another 72 points, led by San Francisco's defense with 17, Tyreek Hill with 14.9, and Greg the Leg Zuerlein with 14. Pope 1.0 was led this week by his running back combo of Derrick Henry, 17.3 points, and Aaron Jones, 16.3 points, but his biggest concern at this point has to be the injury to Kerryon Johnson, who goes on to IR after getting hurt during the game and only adding 2.3 points onto the team's ledger this week. You had several other players who struggled with their performances this week, getting only 2.6 points from Kerryon Johnson, Evan Ingram putting up 1.1 points, and Carson Wentz putting up 6.8 points. All while Darren Waller sat on your bench, putting up 31.1 points while being force-fed the ball versus Green Bay. With the loss, Pope 1.0 falls to 3rd at 5-2, and Drew's team is creeping on the top of the leaderboard at 4-3 in 5th place, just 8 points less than the top scoring and first place team owner, Chris. Drew gets his 40th win all time and his 10th high score, moving him into a tie with Andy for 4th most overall. Unfortunately, it looks like you've been adhering to a strict win-loss, win-loss, win-loss pattern this season. So you're due for a loss this week. So I would recommend maybe benching your entire lineup just so they get rested up for the playoffs.
You know when they say it's so crazy it just might work?
In this week's closest matchup, Alex's Funkle Up gets past Lee's That's Headley 106.9 to 98.7, an 8.2 point margin of victory. Alex's Jacoby Brissett won the quarterback battle in this matchup, putting up 27.6 points versus Lee's 20.5 points from Dak Prescott. Austin Eckler had a monster 22-point game, largely playing wide receiver, putting up 7 catches for 118 yards and a score. The 17-point difference between Eckler, Alex's number 1 running back, and Lee's Mark Ingram, who put up 5 points, swung this matchup for good. Lee could have gotten a win here. He started Ingram and Hyde, who combined for 9.3 points, while leaving Royce Freeman on the bench, who scored 14.7 points alone. Either swap Ingram or Hyde out and Freeman in, and you'd have won by no less than a point. After the matchup, Alex and Lee sit next to each other in the standings, fitting, both sitting at 3 and 4, with Lee coming out on top of Alex, despite Alex getting the win this week.
You may have won the battle, little dude, but you lost the war.
In other matchups, Derek's Freeman fuck-up project defeat Pope 2.0's Pew Pews, 116.1 to 93.5. Derek got a solid 26.7 points from Zeke Elliott, 20.7 points from Stephon Diggs, and had 4 other players with double-digit games. Derek's coming on strong. After losing 3 of his first 4, he's now won 4 of the last 5 and 3 in a row. This win gets him up into the 6th spot in the standings. Pope 2.0 got 3 different 20-point games. MVS with 23.3 points, 21.9 from Sony Michel, and 21.3 points from Josh Allen. Unfortunately, the trade that happened between you and me did not work out very well for you, getting Will Fuller specifically for this week when your number 1 and number 2 wide receivers were both on bye, only for him to immediately pull a hamstring in the game. And he's likely going to be out a couple weeks. Sorry for the bad luck on that one, but apparently the bad luck appears to be piling on you pretty hard this year.
You stupid idiot. Oh, we're not piling on there?
I'm gonna say this because I'm one of your best friends, and I don't want to overstep, but every choice you make in your life about everything is monumentally wrong.
Speaking of piling on, your 0-7 start sets a new low mark for the worst start to ever start a season in this league. In terms of the longest losing streak within a single season, that mark is now in reach at 8, set by Josh last year, 8 straight losses.
Stop! He's already dead.
Jason's I Was Saying Boo Earns defeats Brandon's Blown Call 115.4 to 89.2. J Money picking up a second win in a row, trying to dig himself out of that 0-5 hole. Led this week by a pair of 21-point games from Phil Rivers and DeAndre Hopkins. Allen Robinson also chipped in a 19.7-point games to help you to the win here. Brandon got 17.9 points from Josh Jacobs, 14.5 points from Jimmy Graham, and 16.8 points from John Brown.
You have surrounded your given name with a foul stench. From this day forth, all the toilets in this kingdom shall be known as John's.
The toilets referenced here would be the rest of your team, who combined for a grand total of 40 points. Every other player scored less than 8 points. Mahomes is the only one who gets a pass, as he was knocked out of the game early. No one else had such a nice excuse. After the matchup, these two also ended up in the standing next to each other, with Jason getting the win, but still being below Brandon in the standings here.
We may have lost the battle, but not the war.
Chris's three-headed monster reclaims first place, taking down arch nemesis Josh, 133.3 to 115.5. Who knew when Chris was talking about his three-headed monster, New England's defense was one of those monsters. After putting up 29.4 points on Monday Night Football, the Pats' defense is currently sitting in second overall in terms of total points. Currently, the top 5 overall scorers are 3 quarterbacks, a running back, and a defense. Besides the Pats D, Chris got 32.5 points from Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara's stead. And yet, Josh had him worried. Josh has been hot, and he has traditionally fared very well against Chris, but it was not to be this time. Josh got 38.3 points from Marvin Jones, 17.3 points from Jacksonville's D, and 15 points from Deshaun Watson and D.D. Westbrook. Josh had his optimal lineup in place, with his bench only scoring 2.5 points combined this week.
Okay, moving on.
Chris could have snagged the high score from Drew had he played Chase Edmonds and not David Johnson, but he, along with many other fantasy players, fell into the trap that the Cardinals laid for the Giants, leading them to believe that David Johnson was actually healthy. His health has to be a concern, as the Cardinals signed 2 running backs this week, Alfred Morris and Zach Zenner. And finally, my Melvin Gordon Bombay defeats Nick's Hootie and the T-Blowfish 101.7 to 86.1. I got 26.3 points from Lamar Jackson, 16.4 points from T.Y. Hilton, 12.6 points from Austin Hooper, and 11.1 points from Jamal Williams. I'm struggling because someone is being a distraction. I was lucky to survive this one, and with Nick having some bad fortune, with Matt Ryan and Delaney Walker both getting hurt, and only scoring 2.5 points between the two of them. Nick had the better team, definitely, in my opinion, but as they say,
better to be lucky than to be good.
Nick got 20.6 points from Michael Thomas, 18.5 points from Leonard Fournette, and 17.1 points from Tyler Lockett. Somehow Nick managed to resist trying to double down on the Jets this week, opting to start Le'Veon Bell and leaving Sam Darnold and his negative 6.66 points on the bench. If it was Tim Tebow, I know you would have started him. Big week on the waiver wire this week. Injuries and trades led to a lot of action on the wire. Eric acquired the service of Ty Johnson, who will be stepping in to carry the load for the Lions, with Kerryon Johnson going on IR.
Carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done.
Lots of people believe that Ty Johnson may be the man to get, with Eric's $40 bid winning over Nick's $29 bid, Pulp 1.0's $26 bid, my $18 bid, and Derek's $17 bid. Mohamed Sanu also saw a ton of action. After being traded from the Falcons to the Patriots, Lee snagged him up with a winning bid of $36 over Eric's $30 bid, Drew's $11 bid, Alex's $8 bid, and Pope 1.0's $2 bid. Emmanuel Sanders went to Alex in a contested bid with Pope 1.0 for $8. Corey Davis went to me for $15 over Chris's $3 bid. As we were sitting downstairs discussing fantasy and Game 1 of the World Series last night, I swapped the waiver wire claim that I had. I was going for Sanders, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to try to pick up Davis instead. It looks like I picked the right wide receiver to try to snag to block you from getting him. And Kirk Cousins went to Brandon for $20 over Lee's $6 bid, and Pope 1.0 trying to sneak a $0 bid in. In terms of the wager corner, with my win over Nick, Nick gets to buy me wings again after having done so as recently as Sunday.
Oh, what a nice guy.
Drew's Jake Kumaro continues to heat up, now up to 6 catches after snagging his first touchdown this weekend. Cobb matched pace, also grabbing 2 balls, moving this total to 19 to 6 right now. In terms of Pope and my wager on the Browns and the Steelers, they were both on bye this week. Unfortunately for them, the Ravens won again, and so they pushed the game up further in the standings, and Cincinnati lost again, pushing further behind in the standings. The only stat I didn't mention already that Nick sent my way this week was that compared to Week 7 this week, compared to last year, scoring was down 10 points by average compared to last year. Good luck to everyone in Week 8.